Hey, Kevin here, Top 100 financial advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to talk about the stock market. And I got to warn you about this because I'm already seeing it happening. I don't like when people lose money, and this is going to be a tricky subject or a tricky way of thinking that some people are going to fall for, and they're falling for it already. And maybe a year, 2 years from now, they're going to lose a lot of money. So I want to warn you about it right now. Go ahead and hit the share button. Trust me, you want to stick around for this. All right. So at the time of this recording, it's about 8:45 Eastern. It is expected that Joe Biden is going to win the White House. Now, because of this expectation, people are already trying to think of, well, if he gets in office, what stocks do I need to buy? And how is that going to make me rich down the line? There's a problem with that thinking. Well, let's get into the stock first. So the stock is Aurora Cannabis. It is up 40% today, was like at $4. Now it's around $6. And we already know if the stock is under $5, it's a reason why it's bad. And it's has not been a great stock since about 2018. The stock shot all the way up to about $120 and some change and fell all the way down to $4. There's a reason for that. You don't want to pick it up now just because you think that the presidency is going to go to Joe Biden. Even if it does, Joe Biden doesn't pass laws. This is like a lot of hype, a lot of speculation without actual proof. Very, very similar to Carver Bank, very, very similar to Kodak. You know Kodak was a trash company. You knew it, but because they got that loan at that point in time, it shot up, everything was all good, everything was all great, and then it fell off the map shortly after. Aurora Cannabis is going in that same direction, but here's the problem of why. Here's the reason why it's a big problem, other than the fact that it's below $5, other than the fact that it's fallen off over the past 2 years. The problem is this. It makes sense on paper, well, if you get a Democratic president, therefore marijuana is going to be legal across the board and Aurora Cannabis can grow like crazy. That makes sense on paper, but here are the obstacles you need to get past. It has to be written in Congress. Same thing I talked about with the tax plan. Joe Biden doesn't run all that. It needs to be passed through Congress first. A part of getting it passed Congress is the House has to approve. Maybe you get it there, but then it has to go to the Senate, in which this case, at this point in time, Republicans still hold control, which means it's got to go through Mitch McConnell, and that's probably not going to happen. Once this realization hits the rest of the market, or the people who are investing in it now, the stock is likely to drop the same way it did in 2018. In 2018, you had different states legalizing marijuana, but it still wasn't legal on the federal level. And people were excited. California passed it. You had Colorado, Washington, Oregon, New York. The state of New York was thinking about it at one point in time. And then once it all died down, the stock crashed. And it was all speculation. People hoped and expected that the stock was going to do something crazy without enough evidence, and it fell apart. This could be the very beginning of the exact same thing. Is there a chance that you could jump into Aurora Cannabis at $6 a share, and then 2, 3, 4 months from now, it could be $100 a share? Yeah, it's possible. It's certainly possible, but is that really what you want to bank on something that can vanish in thin air? But also realize that this is the era of COVID, and the most important thing outside of the election is COVID. So how many new dispensaries are opening right now because of COVID? I don't know. I bet you ain't a whole lot because of what's going on. Yes, they are essential businesses in some places, but you still have issues there. So there are a lot of legal hurdles. There are a lot of governmental procedural hurdles that may not make this a very solid company. But most importantly, if you didn't have Aurora Cannabis or any of these weed stocks or any of these things that you're thinking about right now in your strategy a month ago, 2 weeks ago, because Joe Biden had been predicted to win for a while now, if you didn't have it then, don't add it now. This is why I've been saying yesterday, the day before, last week, to stay firm in your strategy. If Aurora Cannabis wasn't in your strategy then, don't add it now because now you're guessing. Now you're trying to gamble. Now you're trying to hope your way to profit. It doesn't work like that. We work on what we know for a fact. We know COVID is an issue. We know stocks like Lululemon, Amazon, Walmart, Costco, Kroger, Dollar General, the list goes on. We know for a fact those stocks do well in the latter half of the year. We know they do well in pandemics, clearly. Like, go with what you know. Don't try to shoot for the moon and hope and pray that this $4 stock is going to be $400 in 4 months. There's a chance. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not impossible. It happened in 2018, but it also fell off shortly after that, just like Kodak. It's hard to time that stuff. And right now, it's all a guess. And it is a multi-layered guess. It's one thing to say, hey, if this happens, then boom, the stock is going to be clear. That's one if, right? But now you're talking about if Joe Biden gets in, if he even writes a policy on it, is that even one of his top concerns? No, his top concern is COVID. That's where his attention is going to go. That's where his first 100 days is going to go. It's all going to go there. So then, if he even cares about it enough, will it pass the House? That's another if. Will it pass the Senate? That's another if. You have 4 layers of Congress, and you're like, at what point is this going to happen? You don't know. I don't know. No one knows. So right now you be gambling. You want to look into the actual stock. Is the company good? Is the company making money? If you don't know those answers, you don't need to be investing in it, because that's how you lose money. You got people right now, first-time investors, been investing for a year, 2 years, putting $100, $200, $300, and sometimes thousands of dollars more into stocks like this because, oh my God, it was up 40%. Let me jump on it now. You have seen this story before. You saw this story earlier this year. I mentioned Kodak. I mentioned Carver Federal. This happens with all types of little penny stocks all the time because everybody builds them up and we hope and we hope and we hope. And then some people make money, those who got in first, and then boom, it vanishes and falls apart. So what I'm going to do right now is show you, just show you the chart of what that looks like. So give me one quick second. And I'll stop yelling at you. I'm sorry. I get excited about stuff like this, just because it is the stock market is exciting by itself. But like this is wild. All right, so this is Aurora Cannabis. Let me get rid of these lines. And again, they're in the weed industry. It's not the only stock, but the entire industry happened just like this. So if you start in July 2016. Nothing was happening. It's about $5 a share. It jumps up to about 20. Everybody's talking about, marijuana stocks and what could happen. And then boom, explodes from, let's say, October to, let's say, January-ish. And it got as high as about 129. So it was October, November, December, January. 3 months, 90 days. It popped from about 26 to 129 and hadn't really been back there since. And it was a few times where it kind of went up and down, up and down. But after 2019, March 2019, it's been all downhill. $115 a share, all the way down to where we are at about $6 here. That's not a sustainable business. That is not a sustainable company that most people would look and say, hey, I want to own a piece of that. I think this is going to be around for the next 10 years. Think about that. It went from, was it $29 a share, $26 a share to $129 in 90 days. Was the company $100 per share better in 90 days? No. So don't do it. Most of us should not be doing it because that is very unrealistic. Could it happen again? Yeah, it could. But at what point of the 90 days do you get in? Do you get in now? Do you wait until he goes through office? Do you wait until he writes the first, or Congress writes the first bill? Nobody knows. But because we all know for a fact that COVID is the number one priority, and then you still got the stimulus, I really don't see this happening anytime soon. And it could be years before you see it. And it still might not even happen then. So I really think it's a speculative investment. A lot of people are falling for it, and there are going to be more like these in the days and weeks. We saw with Kodak. Like we don't need to rehash that. Go back, scroll the videos, and look at the case of Kodak, and the exact same thing happened. It was a company that didn't do well. It had some news. This was the election. People expected this magical thing to happen. It shot up 2,600% and dropped like a rock shortly after. So be careful for stuff like this. If it was not in your investing strategy yesterday, if it wasn't in your investing strategy 2 weeks ago, you really don't need to be trying to add new stuff now. You need to be focused on the pandemic and protecting your money for that and adjusting your investments for that, as well as Black Friday, the end of the year, and over the next, I would say, 3 to 6 months. That's how we run it. Don't add stuff now. We know that works. How do we know it works? Those of y'all in the Investors Toolkit, you know how it goes. You know how we have the process, and you have my monthly stock list each and every month. Also, if you have not joined it, make sure you go to buildingbread.com/tools so you can learn all these things and practice investing for yourself without doing anything crazy. All right, so that is it for me. I'll talk to you guys later.